I mean, we have a pretty broad spectrum of activities right now. The first waves of adoption are coming more quickly from fintechs.
Sabrina, welcome. Thanks for hopping on.
Thank you, Brendan.
So, Sabrina, I'm going to jump right into the questions here. You were involved in the Shinhan Bank cross-border payments pilot that leveraged the Stablecoin Studio and included foreign exchange. Can you tell us how the integration of Hedera payments and tooling is progressing for banks and other financial institutions?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So yeah, I was involved a little bit in that one, although that was more expertly led by Alice. But yeah, I'm quite familiar with that, and it's definitely one of the POCs that we can now openly talk about, because that's been public. We're also engaging financial institutions in more ways. There are multiple threads in the stablecoin space, in the RWA space. We see interest, I would say more interest in the RWA space since like last year, which I guess now coincides with the release of the Asset Tokenization Studio in order to meet that demand, and also to meet the greater demand beyond financial institutions. So there's definitely, I think, adoption in the enterprise space and in fintech in general isn't really slowing down. It's I would say more resilient to market cycles, but it's kind of a slow and steady type of adoption. So there's definitely more steps, obviously, and there's more testing and there's more vetting. But it's really interesting to see that, for example, RWAs are getting more mainstream now. You know, as you're aware, we've done some work with Aberdeen and Archax in terms of asset tokenization, and then recently with Red Swan, at the first tokenization of a Red Swan GCC fund on Hedera. So it's quite nice to see now assets coming on live on chain. And yeah, there's still a lot of I would say hurdles in terms of this is a new infrastructure. There still need to be some connectors between TradFi and on-chain assets. But it's quite exciting for Hedera, I think, to be part of that change and then part of that evolution.
Do you think the things like Stablecoin Studio and the Asset Tokenization Studio, does that resonate with these institutions?
Yes, definitely. For stablecoins, there are sometimes, I would say, jurisdiction-specific considerations. So I would say there are some institutions that feel that maybe a tokenized deposit type model is more attractive than a more traditional stablecoin. So I think it depends, right, in terms of stablecoin adoption. In terms of real world asset tokenization, again, there might be some consideration in terms of, is this a public chain, a private chain, based on the jurisdiction. So we do get those questions quite a lot. But we do find some institutions that are receptive and that are interested in testing out the Asset Tokenization Studio and the Stablecoin Studio. But I do think the first waves of adoption are coming more quickly from fintechs. For example, AUDD, right, was recently announced, and that's leveraging the Stablecoin Studio. There are a few more opportunities like that in the pipeline that we hope will fully materialize. But yeah, so we're definitely, I think we have good prospects. And hopefully I can share a little bit more later.
Well, that's good to hear. You're always, of course, welcome back. So I also had David from Fresh Supply Co. on to discuss their use of Hedera in combination with the MasterCard Multitoken Network. Mm-hmm. So why are these developments important for the Hedera and the Hedera ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a number of TradFi infrastructure that's going to be completely upended by DLT, payment rails and especially cross-border rails are one of them. And we're seeing the emergence of these kinds of networks. So MasterCard, MTN is a multi-chain kind of payment-focused network, but with a number of applications built on top. So although MTN itself is not running on Hedera, there's a chance for us to kind of piggyback off of that network and build Hedera native applications on top. And what David is doing with Fresh Supply is essentially that, right? He was one of the first batch of startups to be kind of live. And I think it's quite meaningful that, all of his work is Hedera native. So to have his app fully functional on Hedera and integrated within MTN, that provides a rail, a multi-chain rail that will be able to leverage. So that's great. We see a number of these kind of payment rails emerging, and then most of them still kind of in sandbox mode. We recently announced one with an integration with UDPN, which is has some similarities, I guess, as it is a messaging service that allows for the transaction of assets cross-chain, and that integration also we felt that was meaningful because now you're able to swap, say, a stable coin or a CBDC on Hedera with maybe another stable coin on Stellar or another network. It all boils down to intercompatibility at the end of the day, right? Because we have to acknowledge this is a cross-chain world. And having this kind of access to this kind of tooling is the same for us as, say, your crypto natives having access to a bridge, right, in terms of the implications.
So how do the inner workings of something like the multi-token network with MasterCard work? I'm just trying to understand, people were wondering, are they actually building on the multi-token network or are they building on Hedera? So the token itself that they were creating was built on Hedera, but they're leveraging the multi-token network to facilitate settlement. How does that work exactly?
The multi-token network is more of a messaging platform.
Okay.
So it is based on a DLT, although it's not Hedera based in itself, but it can take inputs from different chains.
Okay.
And so I think, David maybe might have gone in more detail, but for his application that he'll be tokenizing like an invoice or use some sort of document to be used as collateral for delivery versus payment and things like that. And that part is on Hedera. So his NFTs for the invoice are on Hedera. The stable coins are on Hedera. And it's really just there's different layers, I guess, to the stack. So the messaging layer of MTN remains MasterCard proprietary network, but we can build on top of that in a way that's compatible.
Okay, understood. So can you tell us some more about the Universal Digital Payments Network and the proof of concept that was announced just last week?
Yes, so we've been working with UDPN, this is Universal Digital Payments Network, which is currently in sandbox mode, but it's very much, it's a mature product already in that, it has an interface, you can already play with it. There's a number of financial institutions that have already done POCs on it. Again, this is also messaging, a cross-chain messaging system, which allows you for transfers. So you plug into the API and you can do a transfer through that interface. You can manage decentralized IDs for your accounts, and you can also do atomic swaps using that. But the swaps could be cross-chain, right? So as I mentioned earlier, you can swap like a CBDC on one network versus like a stable coin on another network. And there's a number of use cases that I know they are exploring with financial institutions, from RWAs so it could be a lot of things. It could be cross-border payments. It could be, trade finance or other things, right? It's quite versatile. Think of it as a payment rail.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about that soon. So is there anything else in the payments and fintech space that really has you excited?
Well, I think we have a pretty broad spectrum of activities, right? And of course, we have, the stablecoin CBDCs and the payment related stuff. We have the RWAs. We also have more, I would say, like some of the more like B2C or B2B2C use cases to look forward to. One that I'm quite excited about is AgTech because this should be coming live soon. And we've been working on that for quite a long time, which I don't know if you're familiar with this one. You may be, but this will be leveraging stablecoins for aid disbursement in mainly disaster-stricken areas. And so they've been live on another network and now integrating with Hedera, especially for use in the Asia-Pacific area. And I think it's great because it has a lot of elements coming together. You have stable coins, you have spending into fiat rails, you have decentralized ID, of course you have elements of a wallet. And I think it's just a great use case in terms of financial inclusion. One of those examples where you can say, hey, I can see my impact in like the day-to-day lives of people. So I think, EdTech is one that I'm quite excited about.
Well, that's really what we're starting to see is this different tooling, infrastructure, applications are kind of coming together and they can leverage off of each other to really have the Hedera network take off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of other things that are brewing, but not always able to share. So I hope there will be more good surprises later in the year.
Well, Sabrina, you're always welcome back. Thank you so much for hopping on today and keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot, Brendan. It was great being here.
I'm now posting these interviews of Hedera builders independently to my channel. The community, influencers, and media outlets are free to use this content to spread the word on what's being built on Hedera. Once they're all uploaded, you'll be able to go to my channel and search for whatever topic or team you're interested in to find more information. Or you'll be able to get the most recent Hedera news by watching the latest HBAR Weekly update. So check them out.